St. Lawrence College has a scholarship specifically for Pakistani students who are studying on their campus. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Habak, and I am the founder of Ontario Without Barriers. And if you're new to this channel, what we do is we discuss different resources for people with disabilities, primarily in Ontario, but also the rest of Canada. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about resources for international students that are coming to study in Canada. And we're going to look at different bursary, scholarships, different ways you can find funding resources. So if you are somebody who's an international student that's already in Canada studying or is thinking about coming to Canada to study, I think this would be a great video for you. Now, the reason I decided to do a video about international students with disabilities is because I've had a couple people message me asking me about this topic, and honestly, I had no idea about the resources for international students in general, let alone international students with a disability. And that's because, like, as privileged as it sounds, like, I've been a Canadian citizen ever since I was 3, so I always looked for resources for students with disability, not knowing that many of them require that you be a citizen of Canada or at least a permanent resident. And so because I've had a few people approach me, I decided to make this video and show the resources that are out there, because they are there, but they're kind of hidden. And one reason I feel that the reasons they're hidden is because to study in Canada, you have to meet a certain economic threshold, and providing so much funding for international students might mean that most people don't meet those financial thresholds and are coming in order to get more resources into Canada and get access to Canada. And so they make those requirements specifically for those reasons, to make sure that people are financially independent while they're studying here. Having said that, there are resources for international students and even international students with a disability, and we will look at different ways to access those funding sources. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is government funding for international students, and that is like looking at both the federal and provincial level. Now, when I say provincial, I'm going to focus on Ontario because, again, I'm from Ontario, but there are probably other resources for other provinces. I just don't want this video to be like 90 minutes or longer, so I'm just going to focus on Ontario and the federal government. So the first we're going to look into is a website that's called EduCanada, and it's made by the government of Canada, so the federal level, and it's a database for international students who are studying in Canada, and they have two different categories, one for international students who are actually Canadian citizens and ones who are non-Canadian citizens. Now, if you were to click on the area that says scholarships for non-Canadians, there are several different scholarships that are discussed on the main page itself, and those could be applied to like any school that you're doing or maybe any program that you're doing. But if you want a specific scholarship, then you have to click on the toolkit, and it will tell you different scholarships that are available, and it's actually based on the country you're coming from when you are going to study in Canada. And so for the sake of the Olympics, I clicked on if you're coming from France to study in Canada, and it gave me a list of all the different scholarships that are meant for French students who are studying in Canada. Now we're going to look at the province of Ontario, and specifically the Ontario Graduate Scholarship Program. And this is a program that's meant for international students, and it's actually really great because the scholarship provides funding anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000, and it's meant for graduate students though. So if you're doing a bachelor's degree, this will not work for you, but if you're doing a graduate degree, please look at this program. And you also have to be studying full-time and attending one of the schools that are approved for this program. So it's not for all Ontario universities, but the ones specifically that are mentioned in the list below. One of the things I recommend to anybody who's thinking about doing a program at universities or colleges is to go to the school's website and look at the different funding sources that they provide, specifically the type of scholarship, bursaries, and grants. Now, most universities and colleges will have a website just dedicated to the type of scholarships and bursaries and grants that they offer the students that go to their school. And you can look at it when you already enroll, but it's better to look at it before you enroll and see what type of funding sources that they provide. And chances are they will have a whole section just dedicated to international students. First, we're going to look at the University of Waterloo and their entrance scholarship. Now, it's only meant for 20 international students, and you have to have a really high average in order to apply for this program, but I highly recommend it if you do meet the requirements, because it's a $10,000 scholarship meant for each of the 20 students that are applicable for this program. So next we're going to look at the University of Regina, and they have a program that is for international students of distinction scholarship, and it's meant for 50 students that apply to this program each year. And what's specific about this program is that they don't actually give you any money, but they give you free housing and a free meal plan. But it's substantial because it's throughout the 4 years that you are there, and so it can be valued to up to $80,000 during your program of study. Last, we're going to look at the University of British Columbia. We're kind of going from coast to coast with this video. And they have the International Scholars Program, which is a program that actually is quite vast. And not only do they have one scholarship, but no, they've got 4 scholarships for 4 different areas. And it depends on which one you want to apply for. It can be met through either your extracurricular activities or your academic achievements or your community involvement. There are different scholarships to meet different needs. Another avenue that international students to look into is looking at different consulting firms when finding a scholarship. Now, if you're an international student, there's actually quite a few companies that specialize in helping you figure out what school to go to. And keep in mind, these are for-profit corporations, so it is going to cost you to work with them. But one of the examples I came up with during my research is a company called IDP International Education Specialists. It's a company that's based in Australia, but they have offices and information for students who are going to pretty much many of the Commonwealth countries, including Canada. They have a database on their website of all of the scholarships that you can apply if you're going to school in Canada. Now, in their database, as you can see right here, all you have to do is click on where it says scholarships, and then you have to click on the level of education you're going through. And for the sake of this video, I clicked bachelor's degree, and then the country that you are traveling to for your education. And for this video, obviously, we're going to pick Canada. And as you can see here, they came up with over 5,000 different scholarships for people who are doing a bachelor's degree in Canada who are international students. So it's definitely quite a bit of resource to find different fundings if you're planning to study in Canada. I think one thing many people overlook is looking at community supports when looking for funding to study as an international student in Canada. When doing my research, it was really interesting because I wanted to see, again, because one of the people that contacted me was Pakistani, and so I wanted to see what different resources there were for Pakistani students who are wanting to study in Canada. And there are a lot of community-based resources, but there also is different schools that provide funding specifically to certain communities. I was able to find that St. Lawrence College has a scholarship specifically for Pakistani students who are studying on their campus, and it's obviously to encourage internationality and inclusion and diversity in their schooling. So one of the things I would suggest to look at is to see if there's different schools that provide funding for your ethnic minority group. Another thing I would mention to anyone who wants to study in Canada who is an international student is to tap into other community organizations and community resources that are based on your culture, your ethnicity, even your religion, because they may be a really great resource. When I was doing my research, I came across the Pakistani Student Association of Canada's Facebook group, and I mean, I know it's a private Facebook group, but having access and like becoming members of organizations like this will help you get the connections, get the information, and it'll be free, unlike consulting firms, which will make you have to pay a fee to access the resources. Now, I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but please check out DisabilityAwards.ca. Now, I promise I am not sponsored by this organization. I just really, really love it. And what we're going to talk about are resources specifically for international students with a disability. But whereas before we talked about just international students, now we're going to look at the disability sphere. Now, when you are an international student and you're looking at DisabilityAwards.ca for different scholarships, there are not going to be any that are specifically meant for international students. But what you have to look for are the scholarships that do not state that one of the eligibility criteria is that you have to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. So by not having the qualification of being a citizen, by definition, anybody can apply to that, including international students. Now what we're going to do is look at 4 different scholarships that don't require you to be a Canadian citizen to apply for it. So that means that both Canadian citizens and non-Canadian citizens can typically apply for these scholarships as long as you have the condition that is specified for the scholarship. Now, when doing this research, I looked at specifically scholarships in Ontario, so that's what these 4 examples are. And the first one is Autism Ontario. Now, they have a few different scholarships for people who either have autism themselves and are going to university or college, if you are a sibling of somebody who has autism and are going to university or college, or if you are a parent of a child who has autism and you are going to university and college. There are 3 different scholarships that you can apply for. Now we're going to look at the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, which offers quite a few different scholarships. And those are meant for people who are either blind, visually impaired, or those doing research in the topic of those who are blind or visually impaired. And when I say several, I mean like you can scroll down. It's quite a few. And if you are either blind or visually impaired or doing research on that topic, definitely check out this scholarship. Next, we're going to look at the Dr. John Davis Burton Award, which is a scholarship that is meant for anybody who has a disability, but it is only for specific schools. So as long as you are going to those specific institutions, then it's a good resource to look out for. The last we're going to look at is the Ontario Federation of Cerebral Palsy, and they offer quite a few scholarships as well. And it's obviously meant for people who have cerebral palsy, but are also people who are lifetime members of the organization and have also completed their first year at either college or university. So if you have this condition, I highly recommend checking out the scholarship. I want to reiterate that I only looked at the first page of the Disability Awards website and was able to find several different scholarships that can be applied for international students. So check out this website because they go through by condition and they go through by province. So if you're going to a different province for school, then it's different resources, but it's still great resources to look into and find for international students. And that's the end of the video. And so I hope you found this video helpful. Please tell me in the comment section if there's anything else that you want to see, different topics, if you want me to expand on any of the different resources we discussed in this video, and what your experiences have been as an international student studying in Canada. Have you found it difficult? Have you had an extra layer of barrier having disability? Let's start a dialogue and discuss all these topics. And as usual, please share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and tune in next week where we'll discuss other resources for people with disabilities. Bye. For information about all the programs discussed, please check out my website, Ontario Without Barriers, located in the description. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications. Tune in next week where we will discuss other resources for adults with physical disabilities.